Okay, so pretty much. That's why we don't do it all the time. Well, greetings and salutations, test takers. This is Dean Tenney, aka the Series 7 Guru, with our always very special guest, the test geek himself, Brian Lee, managing member, Test Geek Exam Prep, LLC. Let us know what series exam you're taking, where you're joining us from, and we'll get started with questions in just a little bit after we take care of some housekeeping. If you do have a question about your exam, we appreciate putting it in a format where we can pick it out of the chat. We love victorious test takers joining us in the chat. It's a community, and we love that. But if you put a Q there in front and tell us what exam, then we are more able to pull it out of the queue, because sometimes we miss it. If I miss it, it's not intentional. Just put it back in there. I'm hoping, Brian, that Erica will show up. She passed her Series 7 the other day. So, woohoo. I mean, if anybody deserves the pass, she does. She works so hard. Wow. So I'm hoping she'll join us, and you can ask real victorious test takers as well. We do have a debrief. We always like to start with debrief if we have it, and we do have some 65 debrief. Besides what we've been telling you every week for the last couple of weeks, is June 12th, the passing score on 65 will go to 70%. Brian and I are in the middle of a 6-episode podcast on the 65 exam. You can find it on our channels, our YouTube channel, our Test Geek channel, Brian's Test Geek channel, as well as Spotify. We premiere next episode Thursday, 5 p.m. This 65 test taker on this debrief got a dollar cost averaging question, very straightforward and very testable. So no surprise. Sometimes Brian and I say, well, no surprises. Every once in a while there's a surprise, but there's stuff that we just know that is going to be on your exam. So values was a value question about not owning gun stocks in their portfolio.
I saw that too. Yeah.
Did you put that one as well? So there you go. So confirmation. Let's see. One sell limit, buy limit, which they said it was very confusing. I'm not sure why that would be confusing. A sell limit is where I want my price or more placed above the market. A buy limit, I want my price or less below the market. And so that shouldn't be a challenge. You should be able to get that. Options. The first one was word for word from one of Brian's Test Geek question. It says, Brian, by the way, has, I think, the best correlation to the actual exam. I can't tell you how many times a day I find myself saying, why don't you take the Test Geek practice final? And you'll know where you're really at, because we don't know about some of the others. Anyways, the buyer owns XYZ stock, fears a near-term correction and what to do for protection. The other one that they said was difficult. If the client's long the stock and wants income, that's a covered call. So I don't know why they were just, by the way, they passed, but it's a couple of these I don't think they should have been struggling with. Forward versus futures. Remember, futures, you have counterparty risk. The contracts aren't standardized. I usually say, Brian, that the test question in that regard is usually to know the forward is the better instrument to speculate or hedge than is the futures for various reasons. Efficient market hypothesis, weak, strong, semi-strong. What is monetary policy? If you're an SIE test taker 65, you should definitely know that's the money supply, the money supply controlled by the Fed, and you should definitely know the tools of the Fed. Definition of GDP. By the way, the biggest difference between 65 and 66, I think, is the economics component. 65 has a lot more economics on it. By the way, the economics on the 65 are very similar to SIE, so you should, as an SIE test taker, know the definition of GDP, total goods and services an economy produces. Consumer price index, they got a question on the definition. It's used to measure inflation. You don't even know it's a price of a basket of goods and services of a particular security or city. ADRs all the time on the test. I can't imagine any draw in which you don't get asked about currency risk and American depository receipts.
And that's on almost every test.
I agree with you, Brian. I can't, no draw do you not get that. Market manipulation. The answer was front running, wash trade, or selling away. Selling away isn't about trading securities. And front running is trading ahead of a customer. I would have gone for the wash trade in this example as giving the false impression of volume, a classic known as painting the tape. Liquidation priority, very testable, no senior to junior in terms of liquidation on the securities. So in fact, he or she said pretty straightforward. General obligation bond, class A, B, and C shares. Something about the age of 30. I can't think what the age of 30 would be about.
Coverdell. have to make.
Oh, there we go. There we go. So that's a Coverdale question. So they said they had something about the age of 30. Performance-based questions. They had one market maker question. They had to do current ratio, no surprise. Quick ratio, no surprise. Debt to equity, they had to calculate them. Usually it's recognition, but they had to calculate. Price to earnings, they had to recognize the formula. They felt like they missed every balance sheet question. I don't know why they would, because you should be prepared. I mean,
There's a lot of info on it.
Listen, I tell Brian, I tell test takers, angels weep for you if you miss questions that we told you were there. I mean, when I take a test, I like to get to the first question I know the right answer to, and I go, woohoo, something I actually know. One convertible question. Lots on ethics, no surprise. Voting rights. Remember, common stock has voting rights, preferred stock does not. Question on the record date. Question on technical versus fundamental and which one uses charts. That's a give me. Right, that's technical analysis. A Coverdale's been set up with why would they want to add a 529 plan also? I don't think so. I think I'd either do one or the other. I typically would say the 529 would be the better way to go. Husband and wife have been married 20 years. They have adult kids. They want their assets passed down to them. That would be joint tenants in tenants in common. A beta question, an alpha question, no surprise, just recognition. They said they got a beta of 1 and the return was 12%. What's the alpha? And it would be the excess. All right, so that's our debrief that we start our live streams with. There's a free live stream and free office hours at deantenneytutoringsetmore.com/classes. There is one tonight. We don't do it every Tuesday after the live stream, but we do it most Tuesdays, I would say, and we're doing it tonight. And it's first come, first serve. If you want to register for that next Tuesday, do so before it is capped out. My Kaplan Q2 schedule, Series 7, May 8th through 10th, 66, May 31st through June 2nd. The Kaplan discount code is Guru10 at checkout if you'd like to join me. We end all of our evenings. We are an hour. We start on time. We end on time with a coaching call. Tonight's coaching call will be 4:15 next Tuesday, May 2nd. It's recorded, shared. We can talk about whatever you'd like to do. Last person who won, I think it was Erica, and she wanted to do practice questions. Whatever you want to do, that's fine with me. But within an hour, you need to claim your prize by sending me an email saying, Dean, I'm the winner. Looks like I need to fix my banner. It's not Doug Co. It's Com. Dean, the Series 7 Guru at gmail.com. If you're using the channel, it's a buffet. Take what you like, leave what you don't. But I would work from the playlist, not actually the videos. There's almost 500 videos. So find whatever series exam you're taking, and that's where you'd find all the videos for that series in suggested watch order. Now, that's the best free supplement to your paid study materials, but the best paid supplement is a Kaplan Q Bank and our friend Brian Lee's Test Geek material. He's kind enough to give our viewers a 20% discount with the discount code Guru20. So check them out. All in, it's $100. I don't know if the guy bought yesterday, but I was telling the guy, Brian, that I think that is a better paid supplement, a better investment than the Achievable as a supplement. And if you get both Brian and the Q Bank, you're still in it for less than what would be an Achievable paid supplement. So that's my recommendation for what it's worth. If you want to reach Brian, that's Brian's email address. If you want to buy his stuff, that's where you can find the stuff, I think. And that's where you can find me. And so now let's get going on the comments and questions.
Let's get started.
Yeah, boom, boom, boom. Okay. Hey, Dean. Hey, Simple Mama.
Hey, Dean.
Any last few days tips for 66? Well, I would continue to lay base. I talked to somebody, Abby, today, and I thought they were doing too many practice tests. They were stacking them on top of each other, one after the other. And I reminded them that that's not a learning enterprise. It's a mark to market. So I told them maybe slow down a little bit and do a practice final, spend some time laying some base, and then doing another one. In fact, I told them they were doing one a day. I said, take a day off, come back, and I think your score will go up. So that would be my recommendation. I see Brian's got his board going. Let's give him some space.
Yeah, Dean, we talk about this every week, don't we?
We sure do. We sure do.
Yeah, you don't want to stack those practice finals on top of each other. How are you helping? Again, Dean and I both recommend evaluation, remediation. Evaluation, remediation. That's the process over that last week to 10 days or so before your test. So, if you have a test coming up Saturday, next Monday, evaluation, remediation, evaluation, what is it? Rinse and repeat.
Rinse and repeat. Yeah, I think because there's some bad advice out there, and I think people misinterpret it because I actually am a person who believes in doing lots of practice tests, probably more than other people. But I'm not one of these old school persons that are still floating around. Oh, just exhaust the Q bank and take the test. No, that is bad advice. So that, Abby, would be our recommendation. If you're testing Saturday, remember the other thing I would warn you about in the last few days, your timeline starts to collapse on your study effort. So, those, as these days get a little more precious as you get closer to that test date. So that you're even thinking about it and have the intention to think about it, I think is a good thing and bodes well. I would also, Abby, like to have a practice test score so we know whether where you're at right now in terms of being at risk or not. And so I usually tell people that 7 to 10 days out score, we don't really care so much about it. We just want to know where you're at, right? So, we can't know where you're at until you take a practice test.
Yeah.
60, New Mexico, beautiful state. Second attempt. All right, well, let's get it done. Audio has an echo delay going on. I'm not sure. My systems on my end say everything's okay. So I apologize, Mike. I'm not sure if anybody else is having audio problems, but it might be on your end. I don't wish you any ill will, but I hope so. Oh, man, Jackie, that hurts. Oh, well, I guess, Jackie, the good news is you improved 9 points. So, you got 60 first. It's not,
no, you're right. That's right.
Okay,
Up 9%.
Yeah, so that's good. I mean, did we want you to pass your second time? We certainly did. While it's fresh, Jackie, what I'll do is I'll link in the video replay to my video the 5 steps to take after you have missed your mark, and I'll put it there. And I don't know if you've already watched that, but what you want to do while the fresh is heard is you want to do your own personal debrief. And what I suggest you do, and then, refresh and reset to give yourself a break. But while that hurt is fresh, get the test content outline, and I would go through it and do a plus, 0, minus intellectual inventory. Just go through each item on that content outline. Plus means you thought you were above par on the exam. You still want to keep it above par, par being 72. 0 means you thought you were at par. And then what we're really looking for is the minuses, which are below par, so we can bring them above par, over learning to get you over that mark. What we're hoping is maybe it's a one subject area or one thing that's giving you troubles, hopefully. Eli, I think you're going to do fine. The 10 is such a slog. Oh my God. I mean, Brian and I were just talking about it. I think we have somebody else taking the 10. What I did a 10 as an explicated practice test on the YouTube channel. Oh, I was doing. I thought, man, I'm
typically scoring mid-70s on one of the principal exams is usually very.
I think so. I think so, Eli. I think you're in good shape. So just keep working, finish strong. Tell the guest to kill his audio.
What?
Mike, I'm not sure. I haven't had anybody else say they're having problems, and I have Brian's audio is fine. As far as I know. 24. Yeah. 1 point. Ugh. Yeah. Negative voices. I was talking to somebody today. I said, listen, I don't mean to be, mean spirited, but you got to get rid of the energy vampires in your life. Whoever they be, you got to make sure you're guarding your psyche. So, Jennifer, good news. That means you can certainly get it done. I think I know what you think, Brian. I think when you miss by that close, I don't really think it's knowledge deficit. I think it's some other variable, negative voices, changing answers. It's unfortunately not, you didn't know it. Now I'm dating myself. And again, I will link to that video, my podcast episode, Jennifer, on You Failed. Is it over? The answer, I'll give it spoiler alert. The answer is no. I date myself. I used to tell people just to queue it back up. There used to not be a 30-day wait period. and you could literally just write a check and take it again, which I would recommend to people. Thank you, David. So, Mike, we're getting signals that it's on your end, not on our end in terms of audio. I haven't, Eli, had any Series 10 debrief come in here of late, but I do have a Series 10 person I'm working with, and if I get some debrief, I'll pass it on to you. Brian, you have any 10 debrief? Would you kill your audio? You killed your audio. Your audio's off, Brian. Is it a joke or? Welcome. Trish, I don't know when you're taking your Series 7, but you're welcome to join me for my Kaplan Series 7 class, which is May 8th through 10th. Safe harbor on 401k, Abby. The only safe harbor I'm aware of is we have to give employees 3 investment choices as a safe harbor to 401k, not to be liable for, fiduciary buying a fiduciary responsibility. Brian, your thoughts on that?
Also, some conflicts from the corporation, which are fairly obvious to say.
Yeah.
You can't use 401k assets for expenses of the business.
Yeah,
Those are obvious conflicts.
There has been some problems with that, obviously. On these tests, you got to believe in human depravity and original sin. And there's been horror stories of, employers violating their fiduciary status and using those pension plans for something. AMT is pretty straightforward on your exam. The AMT is the alternative minimum tax. I think, and I'll defer to Brian once I tell you, Abby, what I think the test issues are. There are 2 types of municipal bonds that would be unsuitable for an investor subject to the alternative minimum taxes to be taxable. Those are industrial development revenue bonds, also known as private activity bonds, and public purpose non-essential, known as stadium bonds. So it's a binary suitability question. You don't have to get how much they make or what KIG triggers it. None of that. Brian, your thoughts?
That's exactly right. I think it's which is least appropriate, and the answer often is private purpose or an IDR, one of those.
Yeah.
It's a pretty classic Series 7 or 65 question.
And Abby, I think that, I would just qualify too. Remember, Brian and I don't care about test prep vendor questions. We care about actual Series 7 questions. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's some test prep vendor gets in the weeds about AMT and preference items, including like intangible drilling costs and all kinds of stuff that you aren't going to see. Difference between trade-in and exercise when it comes to option contracts, certainly.
Boy,
So
I see it all the time. Yep.
Yeah. So Simple Mama, the way I remember this is with the mnemonic T. There are 3 things that can happen to an option contract. It can be traded, it can be exercised, and it can expire. So when you're trading an option, you're doing a closing transaction. So, you did either an opening purchase or an opening sale, and then you would be closing that out. So T is a good way to remember it. So the note that I would make here, I don't know, Simple Mamba, if you joined us in the live stream for tonight. If you didn't, the overtime session, but do so next Tuesday. Brian is a warrior in terms of his whiteboard there. We could do some more in terms of a whiteboard in Zoom. The thing I would want you to know, Simple Mama, exercise, if at expiration, the contract has intrinsic value, the contract will be exercised, right? That's where in your option agreement, we tell you that. So I'm under no obligation on the exam to tell you at expiration whether or not a contract was exercised or expired, because you should be able to figure that out. Now, the other thing I would know between the difference between trade and exercise is when you trade options, the settlement is T+1. But if you actually exercise the option contract or get exercised, long means you can remember American style exercise anytime. European style means only on expiration, that's trading day. But that being, who cares? That's, I'm off track here a little bit. But that would be T+2, unless it's an index option, which in case would be T+1. So the difference between traded and exercise, traded means you're closing out the option contract. Exercise means you're either buying or selling the stock, right? So if I'm long a call and I exercise, I'm buying the stock. If I'm short a call and I get exercised, I'm selling the stock. If I'm long a put and I exercise, I'm selling the stock. If I'm short a put and I get exercised, I'm buying the stock. Brian's got his whiteboard going. I'm putting it over to you, Brian, with your real estate there. What do you got there for?
Yeah, oftentimes in a test question on the real exam, on the Series 7, you'd probably see something where the investor has bought stock, he's bought an option, and then down the road, it may say, the question would say, the investor then closes his put option.
Oh, I love them, Brian.
For a premium of 2.
I love it. They love this, Simple Mama. Several weeks later.
Yeah, exactly.
I call them time clock questions. Several weeks later. And then they might even say, and you close out at intrinsic value.
That's correct.
Right. If you don't know intrinsic value, you're kind of going to be stuck closing the thing out. I will link to an optional lecture I have that goes over this stuff with you.
It's a great question. If and when she figures the 2 out, it will raise her to another level.
Exactly right. If you can track money and you know contract specifications, you're in good shape. So early in the process, I don't know, Simple Mama, when you're testing, but if you're early in the process, I wouldn't get too hung up on things. Another would-be sales supervisor, Britt, welcome. We have several Series 10s floating around in the chat. We got Eli and we got, I think, Mike or Matt is Series 10s. And you're welcome to join us Tuesdays. These calls are for any FINRA exam, including 10s, 9s, 4s, 24s. Bring your question. We're more than Brian and I are more than happy to answer questions for you guys as well. So, no, we don't do, Jonathan, we do not. I'm not going to speak for Brian, but I wouldn't want a discount code from training consultants, to be honest with you. I wouldn't feel good referring you to training consultants. So I feel good referring you to Kaplan, obviously. I feel good referring you to TestGeek. I have a Knopman code, but Knopman uses the Kaplan QBank, so I'm not sure how productive that would be for you. So I bet if you Google it, though, you might be able to find a promo code for training consultants, I would think. What do you think, Brian? Are you willing to go as far as me and say that you wouldn't recommend training?
I don't have any promo codes for training consultants. As far as QBanks, Kaplan's the best.
It sure is. It sure is.
It's the best platform out there.
I really think so. I'm getting more aggressive about that, Brian. I used to be a little more laid back and agnostic about QBanks and things, and now I'm getting more aggressive. Like, no, QBank from Kaplan is the best. I'm sorry. I mean, it is what it is.
I can rank textbooks from Kaplan to STC to training consultants, but when it comes to the QBank, there's one that stands head and shoulders above them all.
Yeah, I totally agree. Because we talked about the performance tracker, the study calendar. It's got a lot of goodies. Sarah, thank you so much. As I say, there's certain videos I have down there on the playlist that I think can be very helpful in terms of a supplement. Well, the important hacks to remember would be the Investment Advisor Act of 1940, the Uniform Securities Act template, right, on 33 and 34. So, the thing you got to do, Clyde, is you got to take a practice exam. I don't know what a pre-exam is. There's no such thing as a pre-exam. There's practice tests. So are you saying you took a practice test on my channel and you got a score? What was the score? That would be important. And then if the weakness was bonds, and accounts, that's pretty significant. Because bonds and accounts are big time test fodder. So second attempt, we'll get it this time. There we go, Eli. So Mike, there's another 10. We got, I think, 3 10s I know about floating around the chat. So by the way, part of the chat, part of these is community. You shouldn't try and do this by yourself. I feel sorry because, in the old days, we would have a cohort. We go in the office. Somebody had a rough day. We could take them to lunch or after work, buy them an adult beverage. And now, not so much. So now you're on your own. If you can stay plugged in, I'm so happy that people are starting to get more plugged in, Brian. We had a lot more people now in our Reddit, our sister Reddit community, who are saying, oh, I've been lurking for a while, and now I'm going to come, participate. And I said, well, thanks for uncloaking, because, I feel bad when we hear from you and it's after you failed the exam rather than before, getting help and doing what we're talking about remediation, talking about things you can do. Minneapolis. Ooh, Rod, I don't know about your T-Wolves if they're going to make it. Right? What I think
or the Wild.
Yeah, I think
Dallas,
they might be done.
Hockey.
Yeah, the tests are all up to date. All tests are up to date. So
yeah, they're not going to include any old stuff.
That's right. Always answer with current information. Is beta and alpha calculated for Series 7? No.
Interesting.
Yeah. What you do have to know is what beta is, a measurement of volatility as compared to the S&P 500, the market, and have a general understanding that alpha would be the excess return. I did, Nicole, have somebody who's been working their way from the Kaplan Q Bank as a retake, and he has been sending me QIDs of questions he thought were familiar to what he encountered. No surprise, because I think the Kaplan Q Bank does have questions like that. And one of those was indeed a beta question. Your thoughts, Brian, calculating alpha or beta?
I think the most common alpha question was what most likely affects it.
Oh, something
Change in the CEO, bad
No, I like
product.
that. I like that. Yeah, I like that.
Because it measures unsystematic risk.
That's exactly right. I think the idea of beta and systematic risk is very testable. No, they're actually clever. They're actually changing the test specifications as well. And we will be covering that in episode 6 of our podcast. Yeah, a little bit.
Not a lot.
I don't think it would require anybody to get new study materials. It'd be interesting to see if test prep vendors are even going to change anything. But a little bit, a tweak. I'd call it a tweak.
Yeah.
What do you think? A tweak?
A tweak.
Very testable, Nicole. The difference between, let me just phrase it this way, Nicole. The differences between an open-end fund and a closed-end fund is very testable on all exams. And then you got to be able to contrast an open-end fund with an ETF and an ETF with an ETN. I don't think you're going to have to contrast ETFs and closed-end, but they both trade supply and demand. The ETFs would be more tax efficient, but I don't think that's the test issue. It's not ETFs closed-end. It's open-end versus closed-end, open-end versus ETFs, ETFs versus ETNs, exchange traded notes.
That's exactly right. Yep.
Okay, so. And that was. I'm just taking notes as we go along so I can, when I'm doing the replay, I can do it. All right, Tate. Woo! All right, excellent.
P is for you.
Got the P. So we have a victorious test taker in the house. If you want to ask a real test taker, I don't know why you wouldn't want to take Brian and I word for what's on the exam and what's not, but you have a real test taker you could ask in the chat. Thanks for joining us. I always love when victorious test takers come on back and tell us of their victory. I'd also be interested if are interested in being a podcast interview. I want to start doing on the podcast interviewing successful test takers and what strategy they use, the challenges. If you're interested in that, drop me an email, Dean, the Series 7 Guru at gmail.com. Tate, the other person who passed that I'm so happy for is Erica. I haven't seen Erica, but she's just such a grinder. There's people when they get their pass, I just say, man, if anybody deserves a pass,
she is.
And I told her she passed, I want to say Thursday or Friday. And I said, please take a couple of days off. And she's right at the 66, right? So at least give, my suggestion is give yourself a victory couple days off, before you dig into the 66. Good evening. Well, yeah, the interest rates are all testable. I think it's more 65 SIE, but I think you should know that prime rate is what banks charge its best commercial customers. And I think you should know that Fed funds is what banks with excess reserves charge banks with deficient reserves, and that it's the most volatile of the rates. What do you think? 7? I think it's more SIE in 65, but
that's correct. Yeah. So, now it used to be 7. It's now SIE.
Yeah. Another victorious test taker. This is a different Erica. So this is not the Erica I was talking about, different Erica, but woohoo. All right.
This is the Erica from San Diego.
Oh, yeah. Erica from San Diego. That's what will distinguish them. I think past perfect is too much stuff, but too much is better than not enough. So if you're doing well on past perfect, I think you should feel pretty good about your prospects for getting the P that Brian has on the whiteboard there. I would warn you that for some test takers, they can lead you down rabbit holes unnecessarily, and I think that's bad. So that would be my thing about past perfect. They have some stuff that is not on the actual exam, and they torment you with it. Like they make you calculate yield to maturity, for example. You're not going to have to do that. STC I like as well. I think they're a good test prep vendor. I think the weakness there is their Q bank. Their Q bank is pretty shallow. What I mean by shallow, it's good, but it's possible that you could start memorizing their questions. And every once in a while, not often, but every once in a while, somebody will get a score on STC that I think should mean a pass, and then they don't. And I think when that's usually the case is when they memorize questions and answers. So there you go. Wow, Abby. Well, that's great. That's fantastic. So with that kind of a score, I don't think you're at risk. I do not think you're at risk. So just stay the course, keep doing what you're doing, rinse and repeat, and you should be fine. 72 is where we want you to be. So that's plenty. I would like you to push that if you can a little higher, but I think that's fine. That's an acceptable score.
That's great base. Rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat for the next week.
There you go. So Mike looks like he's resolved the audio issues there in Virginia Beach.
I hope.
I had some good times in Virginia Beach. I was in the.
I have too.
I was in the Marine Corps, and there was a Navy base pretty close by, and we would.
Great restaurants.
Leave. Saturday, I love that weekend. A weekend test taker. All right. Number 3 is a big one, right? Because number 3, then if you don't make it, you got that 6-month wait. So
look at those scores, Dean.
Yeah, scores. I like it. Those are good. So the only thing I would add to that, Exa, is make sure you go on my channel, and there's a whole playlist of practice tests, and do the Brian's Test Geek practice, hit pause, do your answer, hit play, and get a score on that. And that'll really, solidify where you're actually at. If you want, for $20, you can actually buy the PDF. I don't know why people get confused about this. For $20, all you get is a physical copy of that exam with the answer key and rationale. But I still think it's helpful because you can turn it into poor man's flashcards. You can print it. I think having the dead tree version is worth $20 in my book, but that's what you get for 20. For Brian's PDF dead tree thing, I think it's like 40 something, all in videos, practice finals, spend the weekend with Brian at his place. No, I'm joking. $100.
In fabulous Las Vegas.
Fabulous Las Vegas. There you go. Oh man, that hurts, Caesar. That hurts. Well, you got the right attitude. Back to the lab. Back to the lab. So, we can find you the points. So we'll find them. There's many, many successful test takers. Are very successful people in our industry are not good test takers. I think one of the reasons that they do so well is because it shows you're resilient. And so when it takes you more than once to pass this thing, once you do pass, I think you're less fragile than other folks in our business. That's just my anecdotally kind of my thoughts. 6/9, June 9th. Okay. I am teaching, Jennifer. I don't know when it is. I think I'm teaching a 24 in June, 2-day Kaplan 24. I got to put the schedule up on the channel, and I need your help. I haven't put up any of my evening classes. I'm a little behind on stuff, but I don't know what the date will that factor into my 24 class. I'm not sure. I think you're fine, Nathan. Sounds good. That sounds like you're right where you need to be. So I wouldn't be worried about that.
FINRA practice exam. Perfect.
Well, 9 is a different deal, Mike. It's more about supervision, right? So 9, it's more about credit spreads or sales supervisors' friends, because instead of doing a naked call, which is stupid, you would do a credit call spread, which is smart. So it's more about don't be a dumb bear than it is about, you're a broker selling things, right? The debit spreads lower out-of-pocket cost, and as a supervisor, I'm all about that. So the flavor is different. I would go as far. By the way, I would say, Mike, the other thing that I would say is that some people on the 9 think it's going to be a 4 or it's going to be a strategy exam, and then they miss the mark because they didn't spend enough time on babysitting 7s, which is really what it's about. Brian, your thoughts about the level of complexity?
Right. It's all about supervising options accounts.
Yeah, so Mike,
trades. It's not so much about strategies.
Yeah, I get a lot of 9s, Mike, who send me like questions about ratio rights and iron butterflies, and I don't mind. I mean, Brian is more. He's better than me at this. If it's not on the test, he won't talk to you about it. I tend to get weak and go, okay, well, here's the answer, but you should be spending your time elsewhere. So I get worried about 9 spending their time in stuff that isn't on the broad avenues and highways of the Series 9.
If somebody asked me about an iron butterfly, I'd say in Gata Vita. Probably no one out there gets that.
But Vita's life, in God Vita. So what?
In the Gata de Vida. Yeah.
Yeah,
It was the number one hit for Iron Butterfly in like 1969 or something.
Zelda, welcome back. Another successful test taker. So Zelda's in the house. If you want to ask Zelda something, please feel free to do so in the chat. Zelda, I don't know when you if you were here when I said I'm on the podcast. I want to be one of the things I'm thinking about doing on podcasts is interviewing successful test takers. What worked and stuff like that. If you're interested, Dean the Series 7 Guru at gmail.com. And I thought we might add that to our podcast where we interview successful test takers. My idea might be good for morale to have people be able to see real life people who have passed their exams. Regulations on the mind? Not really. I wish I did. You have a magic pill they can pop for regulations, Brian?
Any tips on keeping all the regulations on your mind? There is not a magic pill. There really isn't. I don't remember rule numbers per se.
Yeah, they're going to give you context. Yeah, so context. A lot of the test prep vendors leave it hanging. Like they'll say FINRA 5130, and then they don't give you any kind of hint. But on the test itself, they do give you context.
Exactly. Yeah.
There is a playlist for 66, Oscar, so I don't know how I can try and organize my channel better. It hurts my heart when, on the front page of my channel, it says Series 66.
Don't be offended, Dean. It's okay.
I'm not, no, it's on me. It's on me. So the answer to your question, Oscar, is yes. The best way to access all the 500 hours of free video content on the channel is from the homepage. Every series has at least one playlist, and 66 has one playlist, and it's there. And it says on the homepage, you can find it from the homepage or playlist, either one. On the homepage, it says Series 66, start here. You hit the button, all the videos come up in suggested watch order. Sarah, I would check out my podcast on building a study plan. Brian also has not a podcast, but a YouTube video on building a study plan as well. So I will link to 3710 in the replay, to Brian's link on his YouTube channel about building a study plan, as well as my podcast episode on that. So the answer is yes, we do have some advice. Do you want to give her any short-term advice right here on the live stream, Brian, or?
Well, if she's on the 66, how long ago was the 7? Because the process is essentially the same.
Yeah, I think so. If you get a victory, if you are victorious, then what you're doing has been working. So it's not like you need to do something different. But, so I'd give that thought. Now, if you were, struggling, can you improve a study plan? Absolutely. But if you've got your SIE and your 7 victory under your belt, I think you're in pretty good shape. There's our victorious test taker.
There she is.
Kudos. My favorite student. I always have new favorite students. And Erica has replaced my Mandarin speaking student, who I was so impressed that she could pass this thing with English, not her second language. I know that's a challenge for everybody, but in her case, she was putting in things into Google Translator and no Mandarin word would come back up. And Erica is a grinder. She proves that if you work hard enough, you can pass these exams because, man, I'd be telling her, you need to take a break. No, So Erica, I am so happy for you. It's such a well-deserved victory. I've been telling Erica that we're going to start on the podcast interviewing successful test takers. Maybe we could do like a group form. Like maybe we get Zelda, yourself. If you're not into it, that's fine. But maybe we do 3 or 4 test takers and do like a form of, successful test takers. But Eric, you so deserve your testing victories. When other people, Brian, were whining about, their situation and trying to carve out study. And then I think of people like Erica working their butts off, 24/7. I'm like, you know what? I wish I could be more empathetic, but it's hard for me to be empathetic in certain situations. Yeah, I told everybody, I chatted you up, Erica. So I told everybody that you're a victorious test taker. So. Okay, well, that just means we got to take another shot at it, right? So again, check out the podcast. You failed. Is it over? Spoiler alert. The answer is no. That podcast episode, Jasmine, I'll link it in the replay, has the 5 steps you need to take immediately. Brian and I use the word remediation. So when you miss your mark, obviously the remediation has got to start right out of the gate. Yeah, like I say, read the book and do it again. Well, I think Erica, as I recall, she was not monogamous, and most test takers are not. Right? You shouldn't be, to be honest with you. If anybody can help you, and I think Erica had the Kaplan Q Bank. I think her employer gave her past perfect. I don't know if she was using other page supplements like Brian. I think she did buy Brian's stuff, but not the time to be frugal. I know not everybody has the resources to buy all the stuff. My channel is a free supplement, but don't get frugal. Invest. And I would like you to read the book, cover to cover. That's something you should do. So I can't tell how many people ask, should I read the book? And the answer is yes, you should read the book. 72, Dylan, I think you're okay. I mean, I like a higher score, but I said 7's fine. By 2%. Ugh. Yeah, whoever your render, I think what Eric is telling you, whatever book, the minimum, if I were a test taker buying a paid study materials, my minimum requirement would be they have a real, this is me, and I'm an old dude, a real dead tree textbook. Not a PDF, a real book. And then a Q bank. So my two most important things would be a manual, a book, and a Q bank. That would be my key thing. Brian, your thought? Textbook?
That's the foundation for everything, right?
Yeah.
It's the textbook and the Q bank. And of course, we like the supplements, our videos, either the gurus or mine. Dean's are free, mine are not. Right? And then that's the practice finals. So again, that all kinds of dilutes all the textbook materials, turning mashed potatoes into premium vodka, right?
Yeah. And by the way, Brian's, the good thing about Brian's videos too is, he's made editorial decisions for you. It's actually a full course. Whereas, you can kind of get in the weeds on my channel because there's, 500 videos there. Obviously, you're not going to watch. Well, maybe some people do. I would doubt you want to watch all 500 of my videos. I would appreciate it. It would take you weeks, right? So sometimes it's better to have somebody make some editorial decisions for you. Yeah, everybody's a little different in terms of order. So yeah, I kind of get what you're saying there, Erica, that could you, with a well-executed Series 7 study plan, circle back, retrograde, and pass the SIE? Yes, that's not the normal sequence. I would just be careful is that, you want to go with whatever your corporation wants you to do. So, if they have a sequence they're looking for, I would follow that. I wouldn't try and be a rogue rep right out of the gate in terms of your study effort. So it also depends where you're taking your test at, right? If you're at a smaller firm, maybe they give you a lot of freedom to do it however you want. And if you're at a larger firm, I don't know if we have any Vanguard crew members, for example, but Vanguard's pretty straight-laced, I guess would be the word, about what they expect you to do and how they expect you to do it. I do think if you don't have a sponsoring firm or your sponsoring firm is slow on the U4, I am a big believer that taking the SIE before you actually are in the process of your training is a great idea, because right then you have the SIE already done. Brian, your thoughts on that order?
Absolutely. Yeah. I have heard of a couple of people studying the 7 in order to take the SIE. Yeah. And you're absolutely right. It's not the normal way, but what's normal, right? Yeah. But it's absolutely dependent upon what your company is suggesting and recommending. Yeah. We have no preference. We would prefer you start with the base of the SIE and then move up to the 7.
Well, yeah, good point, Brian. Erica. So what I usually tell people that a well-executed SIE study plan will really pay dividends on the 7.
That's right.
So I would prefer somebody start with the SIE and say, I'm going to overlearn the SIE.
That's correct.
And if you overlearn the SIE, I think you could almost pass out of a 6 with that SIE. And you can't pass out of the 7, but you'll be in really good shape as you go into that second leg.
It lays a really good foundation. Yeah. The SIE does, yeah.
Why you would buy or sell calls? Well, the basics would be, are you bullish or bearish? What's your expectation? So you're either buying volatility or you're selling volatility. When I buy a call, I'm buying upward volatility. I think the stock is going to go up. I got to be right about 3 things when I buy a call, Abby. I got to be right about direction, up. The market's going up on the stock. I got to be right about how far up, because I got to cover my out-of-pocket cost. and I got to be right about the timing. And, that's why it's incredibly difficult to make money in options, right? Whereas if I just buy the stock, I only have to be right about one thing, direction up. So that's why you would buy a call. I might also buy a call because, here's an example, Abby. I don't tell anybody, but I didn't have $20,000 and I wanted to buy 1,000 shares of this $20 stock. And I thought, man, by the time I get this 20,000, I'm going to have it. I just don't have it now. It might get away from me. And I bought the 20 calls for $2. That cost me $2,000. I had $2,000. I bought the 20 calls and I locked in my price at 22. So, that's bullish. You sell a call, by the way, you sell a call for income, but don't sell a naked call, Abby. It's very testable to know that a naked uncovered call has unlimited risk. And the test question is, don't do it. Don't be a dumb bear. Nobody would do that because that just means they're clueless because they don't know about credit call spreads. They don't know about covered calls. So don't do that. Long put is a smart bear. If you're a bear and you short the stock, again, you have unlimited risk. But if you buy a put and you're wrong, you just lose your premium. So it's a smart way to be a bear. But again, you have to be right about 3 things: direction, down, how far down, and timing. Whereas if you're short the stock, you only have to be right about one thing. Sell a put. Abby, why not get paid to do something you're already prepared to do? If I'm already prepared to buy the stock and somebody will pay me a premium to do so, that's selling a put. I think bring it on. Thank you so much. Mr. Buffett likes to write puts on stocks he's willing to own. So that's an alternative to a limit order. Now, as you can see on Brian's board, the other players we have in this game are people who are using options to protect stock positions, right? So buying insurance on the stock position, you can see his whiteboard there. You buy a put and you buy that to protect the stock position. You sell a call to generate additional income, very testable. You short the stock if you're a smart bear, risk mitigation, very testable risk mitigation on a short stock position. Risk mitigation would be to buy the call because then you no longer have unlimited risk, which is bueno, or to enter a buy stop order. Both of those are testable. And then to sell a put for income, right? You're always selling for income. I think of it as, income, get paid to do something I'm already prepared to do. So I hope that was helpful. A little more. I don't know if you registered, Abby, for our live stream overtime session, but that's those kind of questions don't lend themselves well to a live stream because obviously, you can go, Abby, to the playlist for options or my playlist of replays. And I have a video, the 7 most tested option strategies on the Series 7. It's a class I did, and you can watch that video. And answers that question, but again, it's an hour. Or you can also go to my options playlist and find it there. I'll tell you what, I'll link to that replay of that class in the video replay. Example, long stock. I think we just did that. Okay, so Abby, like I say, I don't know if you're in the overtime Zoom session. You got Brian's whiteboard there, and I will link to that. I think your question is a little too broad for our live stream Q&A because it actually is an entire kind of a lecture. And so I will link to that for you where you can watch some videos on it.
So I'm not that old, I guess, huh?
Erica, do I agree? The 66 is a definitions exam. To a certain extent, I think you should definitely know who the cast of characters are. Like who's the estate administrator, who's the investment advisor, who's the broker dealer, who's the agent of the broker dealer, who's the investment advisor rep, what's an offer, what's a sale, what's an exempt security. So I guess to a certain extent, Eric, I agree. What do you think, Brian?
I hear this comment quite often.
I think there must be somebody like us who tells me, well, it's a definitional exam.
Yeah. But, classifying the whole thing as a definitional exam is probably over there. Yeah. But I hear a lot of the same comments. There are a lot of definitional questions out there.
Yeah, I think I would say it this way, Eric. It does lend itself well to flashcards. You have a deck of flashcards while you're studying. That's not a bad idea. The name of the
Sorry,
song.
Dean.
That's all right.
We're still on Ingata Davida.
No worries. Best videos to watch on my Series 7 on Friday let me say it again. The channel is organized by playlists, and the playlists are in suggested watch order. So the best videos are the ones I put at the front of the playlist. So find the Series 7 playlist and you'll see the videos I think you should be watching. There's a lot of popular ones. They're at the front. All the math on the Series 7, Series 7 in 60 minutes, Series 7 tip, tricks, and memory aids. So those would be the ones I would tell you to check out. Yeah, we have Tony. That's one of the things that's unique to my channel. We have on the SIE a whole separate playlist of practice exams for the SIE, for the Series 7. There's lots of them. There's a Knopman SIE practice exam there where you can hit pause, watch me answer, hit play, see if you got it right. There's a Test Geek practice final. There's the FINRA practice final. There's a Kaplan, a couple Kaplan practice finals. There's a Mometric, so there's a lot. And I do think doing that, Tony, is productive, and kudos on your pass. So what's next? What's your next testing victory? 7, 6? What's up next for you? 57. Well, Tony, there is a 57 playlist as well. And I have on the 57 playlist a Knopman practice exam. Brian, I tell you what, I try not to get aggravated, but, you know, Tony, one of the things when you take that 57 practice exam, I wish people would lay more base knowledge before they send me nasty comments about how I don't know what I'm doing on the practice exam and I've missed the question. I'm kind of like, well, why don't you hit the pause button again and give thought to whether Dean or Brian, who've been doing this 30 years, missed the question, or maybe you are not reading the question correctly. So, man, some mornings I wake up, Brian, there's like 5 of these. I try and respond, by the way, to everybody who does have questions on the channel. And, you know, geez, we're coming up on 2 million shares and, 20,000 subscribers. So it becomes a little difficult. But, when I wake up in the morning, there's 6 people, telling me I missed a question. I'm like, oh. By the way, sometimes I do. Sometimes I miss a question. How about to buy his practice exam? If you just dealing with the practice exam, you can reach out to Brian. There you go. And now remember, it's $20, but you just get the practice. I don't know why people get confused about this. You get a PDF. I think it's worth the $20 because you get the where you can sit down and do it at your leisure, and you get the answer key and rationale, which is helpful. By the way, I don't read you Brian's answer, his rationales, because I think I have my own rationale. So you'd get a different rationale for why the questions are right or wrong. There you go. 20 to 45. There you go.
119.
So reach out to Brian.
That's before Dean's discount. So
before Dean's, yeah. So 20% Guru 20 gets you
20% off of that.
Yeah, 20% off whatever those are.
Numbers are.
Yeah, whatever those numbers are. Well, let's see. I better get rid of that. Let's get rid of that.
And
Okay, studying 57 now. Boom. There we go. I think you're in good shape. Yeah, I would save that, Brianna. If you got Brian's Test Geek practice final, I tell people to do that if you're testing like Thursday. So maybe tomorrow, or if you're testing Thursday, you better use it, right? The problem with waiting too long to use it is you don't have time for remediation. But I usually tell people to take Brian, save his, put it in your desk drawer or whatever. And if you're testing like on a Friday, do it Wednesday. So, just get that score. Now, I had a guy who took it on a Friday, and on Brian's Test Geek practice exam for 66, Brian, I don't know if I told you the story, he got a 67. I said, well, that means you would have failed. But good news, this isn't the real test, and your test is Monday. And if you don't get wobbly, I think we can find the 5 points you need. But let's be clear, you need to find some points over the weekend. Good news, he didn't get wobbly. He stayed dedicated and disciplined, and he passed. So
the P.
Get the P. Yeah, rest is so important. You got to have your reading skills in top form. Who is the best person to supervise a producing CEO? Well, I don't even think that's on the test. I haven't had anybody on Debrief tell me they've seen that, but it's outside the chain of command. So you would have to have the chief compliance officer in the compliance function not reporting to the CEO. And by the way, there's a letter that's required from the CEO and compliance officer attesting to that they've met to discuss compliance issues. So I don't think I've had anybody tell me they've seen that on the test, but it would have to be somebody independent. So if I had like maybe a board choice or something, the board doesn't want to get involved in compliance. I think it would just be a separate reporting structure. What do you think, Brian?
Yeah, it's exactly right. Yeah.
So
they have to have some sort of Chinese wall between them. Firewall. Yeah. Sorry.
By the way, my firm was small. I was both the CEO and the chief compliance officer. And I thought it was funny. FINRA really wanted me to have that letter. I said, really? You want a letter from myself to myself? You know, I felt like saying in the letter, I sleep with the chief compliance officer. I'm with him 24/7. There you go. There you go. I like it. So she's saying that we misunderstood the order there.
Gotcha.
Not good. You've never heard of the Test Geek? But you're buying the combo pack right now. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's surprising. That's surprising. That's surprising. Well, you know, that's motivating, Dylan, because that means we can keep Brian as our very special guest in more of our live streams if he knows he's actually selling some stuff.
That's not my
I know, I'm teasing him.
modus operandi.
You know,
I have plenty of sales.
Listen, over the
He
course
and I just go way back for a long way.
well, yeah, that's right. Over the course of Erica's testing journey, she's on leg 3 now, but I've had to apologize to her a couple of times over the, you know, her study effort because I tease a lot and I tease past the point of being funny, and so I don't know sometimes when I've crossed the line. Wow, Elizabeth.
Holy cow!
Yeah, I joke. I have a guy who just passed his test, and I was working with him, and I said, "Listen, I hate to tell you this, but if you don't pass based on the work you put in, the scores we're getting, our tutoring sessions, at this point, you don't need a tutor. You need a sports therapist or somebody. You need a performance coach. So you should, Elizabeth. I'm sure you should make your mark. So let's hopefully get that. So circle back and let us know that you got your P." Jose, yeah. I always tease, particularly on Brian's test geek exams. I don't know if I told you this, Brian, but one of my test taking tricks is too long to be wrong.
Yeah.
And every once in a while on your exam, I go, "Oh, we got Brian again with the too long to be wrong." Oh, well, thank you. Thank you so much. The test, it's all inclusive, Simple Mama. So as you go up on the scale of Brian, investing in Brian's products, every level includes the last level. So that's why I joke about all in. All in is the videos, the PDF, the practice final, everything. And with the discount, I'm just calling it 100. I think it's 119.
That's about right. Yeah, it's 98
Yes,
with the discount.
something.
Yeah.
So that's how that works, right? So you can go scaling up. You could get the practice final for 20, and the PDF, which is good. That's called his quick notes. He's got some good stuff in there too. I tell Brian to go ahead and use that as soon as they get it, but to save that practice test. So that's what I usually tell people.
I think those class notes are really an underutilized asset.
Yeah.
They're kind of like flashcards in a different form.
Yeah, I totally agree. He's got some practice questions there as well. Okay, it looks like we're at the end of our time together. So let me open up our giveaway tool.
Wow.
And let's see, choose a broadcast.
Should we use in the God of the Vita?
Yeah, I don't even know how to spell it. Would it be too difficult for people to spell? I'm just wondering.
I know. I couldn't either.
Let's use get the P.
Get the P. I love it.
Get the P. That means
that is what it's all about, man.
Get the P with an exclamation point. And put that in the chat if you'd like to participate in the drawing for the thing. Let me get this up here. Boom. Whoop. Let me get rid of Brian and I. So hold on just a sec.
Get the P.
Can you see the get the P?
Man, get the P.
Is it on the screen, Brian? Can you see it there?
Sir. Yeah, looks good.
Okay, so
do we have to have the exclamation point?
You do, yes. It's got to be just the way you see it on the screen.
Got it.
Got to be. And by the way, it doesn't matter if you put it in there more than once because it wouldn't matter. It only registers once. All one word. All one word.
All one word. Get the P.
Get the P. Now, Erica, you remember the rule. Didn't you just win, Erica, last week? And then you passed your exam. You're on a roll. But I think, Erica, didn't we have a rule that you can't win twice? I thought that was a rule we made. I think you were involved in that rule. I'm talking to Erica T, not San Diego Erica. All right, are we ready? Let's still got some people put in there. Erica, yeah, Wendy, Erica passed. Erica T passed. Woohoo! Okay. Any more in here? I keep seeing people put this in there. Okay. Then remember, those of you who are involved in the overtime session, I'll be over there in 15 minutes to open up the Zoom classroom. Okay, here we go.
And the winner is, drum roll, please.
All right, Abby. Woohoo.
Oh, yay.
So, Abby, send me the email, Dean, the Series 7 Guru at gmail.com to claim your prize. And we will do our coaching call next Tuesday, 4:15. It wasn't you. I thought you won, Erica. No? Oh, well. Okay. Any last minute things before we call it a night here? Thank you for joining us. See you next Tuesday. This was a community event. We do it every Tuesday. Next week, we do it 5 p.m. Following Tuesday might be 5:15 because I'm teaching a Kaplan Series 7. Remember, inch by inch, your Series 7 is a cinch, and yard by yard, your Series 7 or any exam is hard. Brian?
Stay with what you know. You take the test. Don't let the test take you. Get the
See you, everybody.